I don't mind going Dutch.
Yeah, see?
I mean, equality, you know? Then you put a ring on it, you don't have to pay everything.
Ooh. Wow, sounds like a trap, but
See, you're making this is a problem why I'm now looking like a red flag right now. And people are just gonna be like on the comments, like, this girl talk a lot, really annoying. Hey guys, welcome back. And this time we're so happy to present to you the name of our vodcast. We are Vibe Check, and today let's talk about our vibe at the moment, before we introduce our beautiful guest. Okay, so Ron, right now I feel the vibe is all about love. What do you think about that?
I'm feeling the love vibes right here. I mean,
Right?
literally 3 eligible. Well,
Eligible?
well,
Well,
eligible, yes.
Married?
Oh, yes.
Married?
Expert at love, you know.
Absolutely. And we're so excited to really introduce to you the very awesome Miss Violet Lim, or Mrs. Lim.
Mrs. Lee, but you can call me Violet.
Violet. Okay,
Yes.
Violet. We're going Violet today.
Yes.
Oh my god, I'm so bad. It's so. Ugh. Am I giving the ick? Is this the first red flag in a. No, I'm kidding. But today we have to introduce Violet because Violet is a very prominent figure in the dating industry. She's the co-founder and the CEO of Lunch Actually. Now, Lunch Actually, let me tell you about it. It's a really cool dating agency. Violet, I read something, obviously, because we had to do our research, right?
Yes.
You actually, when you were 24,
Yes.
you came up with the idea of having dates through lunch. So like cute lunch dates.
Yes.
And then subsequently you left the banking industry to
Yes,
pursue this,
that's
right?
Yes.
Tell us how that came about. Maybe you can tell us how did you even come up with cute lunch dates as a thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously, like my childhood dream is not to be a matchmaker. You know, it's like
It's too much work.
so it's like, all Asian kids, I've
Yeah.
been groomed by my parents to like study hard, get good grades, get into a good university and get a good job, right? And being an obedient daughter that I am, I did exactly that. So I actually read law at university, and then I did a master's in HR, and then my first job was in a bank. And it was then when I saw that a lot of my colleagues were single and not dating. And I was very curious because, like bankers being bankers, usually they are like eligible, attractive, and I'm like, why are all my colleagues single? And at the same time, I have quite a number of friends who are like getting married and getting engaged, and they are about the same age group as my colleagues. Then I realized that people who who are getting married or engaged, they usually met their other half at school or at university, and that's where I met my husband as well, actually. So then I start to notice something about my colleagues. It's like, they might actually work very long hours. In fact, I call them like vampires, right? Because I'm like, they don't see the sun. They like go into work before the sunrise, and then they go home when the sun has set, right? But I do realize that they always make time for lunch. So I'm like, okay, like rather than always eating lunch with the same people, like your friends, your colleagues, and like your family or whatever, right? Why not just take like one lunch hour in like maybe a week or a month to meet someone that you have never met before, make a new friend, and who knows, something might actually come out of it. And incidentally, I mean, like this was a pure coincidence. My first date with my then boyfriend, now husband, was actually over lunch.
It's so cute.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the basis of lunch, actually.
Yes,
I've
yes.
seen you telling these stories,
Yes.
and I think it really resonates. We all want to find love through lunch. But unfortunately, our lunches are very short, and we don't have
Okay,
time to.
I'll tell your boss about it.
Yeah, thanks. Violet's got our back, Ron.
Oh,
But
she
Violet,
does.
honestly, today the reason why we are here is we really want to find out
Yes.
what young Singaporeans actually want in love. You
Yes.
know, everyone's looking for a partner. It's
Yes.
not easy.
That's great. Good
I know,
news.
right?
Yep.
It's not like easy trying to get like it's not like calling for Grab
Yeah.
and like asking a husband to be delivered or wife.
We all wished for that,
I
right?
I know.
So I always say to my clients sometimes, I say, yes, I wish I have this machine
Yeah.
where we kind of just like key in all your preferences and then I press enter and then the perfect person will come out and can just introduce that person to you. But unfortunately, there's no such machine.
Well, listen, Violet, if he has, please, Ron and I, we are dying.
Sign me up. Sign
We
us
are
up.
dying.
Yes.
Look at us. Okay, but now to some serious stuff, Violet, I have to ask you, because we recently, have been receiving surveys from, very prominent dating apps.
Yes,
and
yes,
one of them is Tinder.
Yes.
And in this 2023 Future of Dating report from Tinder, they are actually giving us some interesting info about how now like 75% of Gen Z are shaking things up. We're talking about 18 to 25 years old. And I think one of them is one survey stats was like 80% is now making self-care a priority when they date.
Yep.
And then 75% find it attractive when someone is into like taking care of their mental well-being. And this is quite interesting, yeah, because compared to a decade ago, this might not have been the same thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I think a decade ago or like 2 decades ago, nobody talked about self-care. And like mental health is like a taboo word or something.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But I think
definitely
now it's like it's so common, and I think it's really good because like it's real. Like it's not like people make it up or something, right? And I think it's just so good that like people are starting to become a lot more aware of it, and like even I think employers like you let your employer know that okay, like maybe I'm like just looking after myself now. I need some time. I mean, especially like I work with a lot of young people, so I always say like in my office, right, I'm like the oldest person ever. Yeah, but it's like I totally understand where they're coming from, and like when they need the time off, I would just be like just take some time off, like go and like do something you enjoy and see how it goes from there. And I think that makes a lot of sense when it comes to dating as well, because like when you're dating, you really want to be showing up like in your like best version of yourself, right? And I always think that there's this misconception, and again, this is going to like tell my age. So there's this really popular film like many years ago called Jerry Maguire, starring like Tom Cruise and Renee Zellweger. Yes. So there's this particular like sentence, right, that was said, which is "you complete me," which is like it's like so but at the same time, like I don't think like that's the best way to go about when we're looking for a partner,
Right.
because I think like we need to be complete first before we like actually go out there to find someone.
Oh my God, that's a quote right
Yes.
there. That's really a thing that we should start to understand, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why like self-care is so important.
Absolutely.
Because unless we are able to love ourselves, like how do we expect others to love us?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Violet, which brings me to my question
Yeah.
about the kind of what are like the significant trends that you've noticed now among young Singaporeans in terms of dating? You mentioned like obviously self-care is huge now.
Yes, definitely.
Are there more aspects to that?
Yep. So I think like definitely you mentioned Tinder just now.
Yeah.
Like Tinder, Bumble, Coffee Meets Bagel. A lot of these big apps have like entered the market. I think about 10 years ago, and obviously it like completely like changed the dating scene. And I think as a result of that, like some of the trends that we see, that people are now like maybe not as quick to commit. Yeah. So it's like I call this kind of like a paradox of choice. Yeah, because you just know that you guys are like laughing and smiling. Yeah, maybe there's some stories behind that. We'll find out about that
It's
later.
like guilty faces.
So it's like I always see it this way. Like in the past, again, like like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago, like dates are like super precious. Like again, I think you cannot imagine this, okay, because you guys are so young, right? So in my day, like when I was dating, it's like how people ask each other out for a date is like they will call like the house phone. You guys are like, what are house phones?
Oh my God.
Right, so it's like you call the house phone and then you're like, someone will pick up and you're like, oh, may I speak to who and who, please? And then you like wait with anticipation for the person to come to the phone. And then you're like, oh no, I would like to ask you out. Would you like to go on a movie with me? And then you're like, wait, like your heart is like thumping. And then it's like, then the person says yes. And then you're like, oh yes, I'm so excited. And then you spend the like rest of the week like preparing for it, like looking for the right clothes to wear. And then you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like people are like, oh, okay, yeah, I have a date this weekend. I actually have a date the next day as well, and the day after.
Oh my.
It's like it's like dates have become like commodities. Honestly, it's like it's no longer like something that you are like super excited about. And then I think like after you meet the person, you're like, okay, not bad, but maybe there's someone better.
It's very, I feel, I don't know, it feels very business-like now. Like, let's move on to the other one.
It's like,
Yeah.
because there's just so many choices out there, right? And then like I always remember this story, like this was when like the apps like first came onto the scene, and then I remember having like single friends going on it. So like this girlfriend of mine was saying like, oh, she went on a date, and then like when she was at a date, she actually went to the washroom, and then when she was coming out, and then she saw the guy was already swiping.
Oh my. I'm sorry. My anger just like burst out. How dare he? He couldn't wait after.
Exactly, right?
Oh my God, it's just such a red flag.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that is the reality, right?
Right.
And then I think the other reality of it is that there are like a lot of what I call like micro dates that's happening even before you meet up in person. Yeah, because like when it comes to dating apps, like a lot of time, like you're not only talking to one person, you're talking to like 10 other people. And like this person is also talking to 10 other people. And you do not want to like be talking to 10 people all the time, right?
Right.
So what that will actually mean is that you are constantly kind of assessing whether you still want to talk to this person. Yeah, and then as a result of that, it's like that's a lot of skill sets that people need nowadays that maybe they never need in the past. Yeah, you see Ron is like smiling, you know.
His face is like, preach, Violet, preach.
You're saying everything in my mind. I was like, just speak for me. Just yeah.
And the rest of this show is going to be a monologue. You know, Violet is just going to keep talking because like Violet just read both of your minds.
We are all so ready. Like I told you, this is now going to be a therapy session, Violet, where you assess each of us and decide how we move on from here. What are the questions again? Sorry. No, but back to what you said. You said about like, you know, the idea of now people just going on this micro dates.
Yes.
It's really like a very normal thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
But I think, Five, the question that I want to ask now, how do we sort of navigate that? Because, you know, sometimes like dating can be exhausting.
Yes,
You're
for
going
sure.
on several dates,
Yeah.
how to start a conversation, how to look cute, witty.
Yeah.
So much things, so much demand, so many
Yes.
demands,
Yes,
right?
yes.
How do we sort of, maybe you could give us maybe some, like, how do we start the process, you think? That's an ideal way for us to sort of understand, you know, how we can get the kind of person we want to look for, maybe. Yeah.
So I think first and foremost, like the first question that we really need to ask ourselves is like, who are we? I think like we don't do that enough. Like a lot of times, like when we're looking for someone, we are always looking outwards. Like, okay, what do I want in that person? You know, like this person must be this, that. You know, what works for me, what doesn't. But I think ultimately, like if we know like who are we, like then that just gives us a much more stronger foundation to work from. So I think like everybody, you know, should really take some time to find out about that. Like there are so many personality tests out there, right? So
Yeah.
I love doing personality tests because it really helps me to understand myself better. So I think that's the first step. Then the next step is to really think like, are you actually ready to be in a relationship? Because I think, of course, a lot of times, like we all say that we want to be in relationships, you know, like we are looking for a companion, we are looking for a boyfriend, girlfriend, or we are looking for a potential partner. But the truth is, to be in a relationship, it's like you really need to be able to learn to trust someone. Yeah, this is important. And secondly, you also need to be able to be vulnerable. Yeah, so if you are not able to do both of these steps, chances are you might not be ready to be in a relationship. And like whatever sort of relationship you kind of get into, like chances are it's kind of be heading towards disaster, whoever that person is, right? So you can see it's like it's a lot about working on ourselves and knowing ourselves first. Then the next part of it is like, okay, now you're like, okay, yes, I'm ready to be in a relationship. Then it's like, what sort of relationship do you want to be in? And I think there's no right or wrong answer. And it really depends for each person and the stage of life that they're in. So of course, I mean like for younger singers, we talk about like maybe singers in their 18, 20, 21, like they might not be looking to be settling down or getting married in the next like 2 to 3 years. So they are maybe still looking more to like get to know themselves better, to like widen their social circle, to meet people, and that's perfectly fine. And why I feel that this is very important, because I think a lot of times like the criteria when it comes to finding like the person, it's different when you are looking to just find a boyfriend or a girlfriend or when you're looking to find a life partner. Yeah. So, I mean, of course, like, you know, if you're looking to find a boyfriend or girlfriend, you know, it's going to be short, it's going to be casual. So, of course, you know, like all the significant criteria is really important, like how this person looks, you know, like does this person, like, you know, give me the vibes, you know, it's like, make my heart flutter, like all the physical attraction, you know, so that makes a lot of sense. But I think when we are looking for like person who could be our lifelong partner, like then some of these most so-called superficial criteria might not be as important. So I mean, a lot of times, like let's talk about ladies first, right? Like ladies come to me, they will be like, oh, you know, Violet, height is very important to me. I say, okay, I get it. You know, like it's usually important for girls. So I'm like, okay, so what height are you looking for? So what do you think the answer is?
Oh my God, you're going to ask like, oh, I want 185 or 183.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly, right?
Got you, girls. I know what you're talking about. No, it's not me, but I, you know, I have
Not her,
friends-
not her, her
I have
friend, her friend.
Who know friends, who know
1.8 males.
So exactly, right? Like a lot of girls like now, like they will be like saying 1.8, 1.85, and then
Yeah.
I'll be like, girl, do you know what is the average height of Singaporean men?
Oh no. Reality check.
And then they'll be like, I'm not sure. And I'm like, so 20 years ago, the average height was 1.71. And then 20 years later, the average height is 1.73. We have made some progress, yeah. But it's
great.
far from like the 1.85, you know what I mean? Like, don't watch so much Korean dramas.
Oh,
Yeah.
snap.
I know all the Korean oppas are very tall.
Oh.
Okay. But okay, like jokes aside, right? Just coming back to like just, this as an example. Like I always say it's like whether the guy is at 1.85, the guy is 1.83, the guy is 1.75, like it has no correlation to whether he's going to make a good husband or a good father. Right? So that's why I think like these are the certain things that, okay, of course, if you're going to go for like just boyfriend material or fling material, yeah, go for it, like 1.85. But when it comes to like finding like someone that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, right? I think we should focus on significant criteria, which is like, do we have common values? Do we have common life goals? Like, are we compatible? Are we able to like spend the rest of our lives together?
Oh, that's nice. That's wisely said, yeah? I think a lot of people, we get so on the surface, but what we want, the height, the looks. I don't want her eyebrows to be fake.
Just say you don't want the eyebrows to be thick, then you just ask her to trim her eyebrow, It's like not a difficult thing to work with. Or some guys who say like, oh, I like girls with long hair. Then I'm like, do you even know why you like girls with long hair?
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the response actually when you ask
They
them?
don't know. They really don't know. They're like, I just like girls with long hair. Then I start explaining to them. I say, oh, do you know that it all goes back to like biological attraction? Then they're like, what? I say, yeah. So basically in the past, like long hair, like long, luscious hair, like basically show that the person is healthy. So it's actually a fertility marker.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I know, right? Like people don't even think about it. Yes, beautiful
I
hair.
think
keep
my
it.
hair just grew like a few inches. I just,
Yeah, but I mean, like when guys tell me these things, right? That's why I explain to them, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, I never knew that." Then I say, like now all the girls, they are very healthy. Don't worry, you're not in like the caveman days, right? So it's like if the girl has short hair and you really like girls with long hair, then you just encourage her to grow out her hair subsequently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It should not be a deal breaker.
But honestly, Violet, I think from what you said, it really gave us like an insight of how we should approach things. But one of the key things you mentioned before we actually embark on this journey of looking for the right one is yourself, right?
Yes, definitely.
Making sure that you have like that right state of mind and all of that. But how can we sort of achieve that? Because a lot of people, we carry baggage.
Yes, definitely.
Right? And even though sometimes we feel we're ready, but we're not.
Yep.
Right? How does lunch actually help to support or inculcate this like mental well-being in terms of trying to connect or help your clients find partners? I think that's an interesting thing to
Very good question. So when we first got started, like we were just focused on the matchmaking part of the service, which is like we will find out who they are, what they're looking for, and then we will just look for a match for them. Then we arrange the date, and then they'll go on a date. So that was like initially that was what we focused on. But as time goes by, like what you have mentioned, we actually have gone into coaching as well. And then we found that coaching is really important. So why did we go into coaching? It was when like I started to realize that why is it like there are two groups of like clients, right? So one group of client, let's call them group A, like they seem to go on like maybe 3 dates, 5 dates, and then they will partner with someone and they'll say, okay, just put my membership on hold, I'm seeing someone right now, and then eventually they met someone, right? And then there's group B, they'll go on like 3 dates, 5 dates, 10 dates, 15 dates, 20 dates, and it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. And then at first I was just thinking to myself, is it like my matchmakers, they are like playing favoritism or something, right? They are just like, working very hard for group A, but they are just anyhow matching for group B. But then I thought about it, it doesn't make sense because the way our membership works is that, they pay a membership fee and then they sign up for like, let's say a number of like 5 dates, for example. So it doesn't matter like when they stop going out on dates. So like let's say if they meet someone on their first date or they meet someone on their third date, like they can't ask for a refund, you know what I mean? Because it's already a membership package, right? So from our perspective, it would make more sense for us to find them someone as quickly as possible because then that means we can then move on to help someone else. So there's no reason why like my matchmakers are like just, doing the group B a disservice. But we realized that group A actually they are people who are already, like you say, in the right frame of mind. So they have the right mindset and they have the right skill set. And as a result, when we find them a match, very quickly they are able to like attract, they are able to like communicate, they are able to like then just basically escalate to the next level. So that was when we have decided to do coaching services for our clients, because we realized that, again, like when we talk about coaching, sometimes there's sort of like a stigma. Like people will be like, oh, is it something wrong with them? Is it like they don't know what to say? Are they like socially awkward? But you'll be surprised. Actually, a lot of times, like they are very much like people like us, like doing well in a career, like just, but sometimes we all have our blind spots. So just give you a story. So there was this lady, like she's I mean that time again, like blogging like was quite in, so she's a blogger, and then like she said she wanted to experience our services, and we say okay, like we'll throw in the matchmaking, we'll throw in the coaching, we'll just throw in everything, right? And then it was very interesting because when she met our image consultant, like then we asked her like, what do you usually wear on your first dates? And she's like, oh, I usually wear like fishnet stockings. I'll usually like put on like very very dark cat eyes. Like very bright lipstick. And we're like, okay, that's interesting. So why do you do this, right? And she's like, oh, because I just came back from UK and like that's the trend there. So yeah, so Ron, what are your thoughts if you meet someone that's in this outfit on a first date?
Oof. Whoa. Maybe not cat eyes or like red lipstick. I prefer individuals who are themselves, as in like, I don't feel the need to over like dress.
Yeah,
I don't think it's something that's necessary on the first date. I think it's nice if you just come as yourself, but maybe like a slightly elevated version of yourself.
Yes.
Just smell nice, be clean.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So anyway, so whenever we do like image consultancy with our clients, we always do like what we call like a style check. So after going through like, as you say, who she is, right? Like we have a quiz to find out who she is, and then we found out that her style is actually romantic.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
nice.
basically romantic, it's like pastel colors, like flowy dresses.
Yeah.
And then we found out that she actually have these dresses in her wardrobe, but she's just not wearing them.
So she's following the trend over being her real self because she
exactly.
thinks that would get people. Okay.
Exactly. So then we are like, okay, we get it. Okay, so we understand you like the trend in like UK that you're following. You can wear that when you go out with your friends, but when you go on dates, can you just wear this part of your wardrobe, which is actually very aligned with your style.
Right.
So she listened to us and she did that. And another thing that we realized about her is that she's someone that she is very quick. And she speaks very fast. So like whenever she's on a date, she's like speaking like a machine gun, It's like, it just, right? So then we just taught her like, okay, when you go on a date, it's like, it's sort of like a table tennis game.
Yeah.
So it's like, you push the ball over and then, the ball comes back and then you push it over again. So imagine like the person doesn't talk so fast and then you talk very fast and then it's just not balanced. So we're like, okay, just slow down a bit. So we basically taught her the concept of mirroring. Yeah, and then she's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So just by pointing out these two blind spots that she didn't realize previously, she went from like no dates at all to like so many dates, and she's like, okay, you guys can stop matching me now. Yeah, so I think sometimes it's really like we all have that potential, we all, like are able to like attract more matches or like go on more dates, but we are just not aware of like some of these blind spots.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, I never really sort of like looked at it that way. Because sometimes we're just so absorbed about, oh, I want to look like this, I want to look at that.
Yeah.
But what does it really tell people about us,
Yes.
Yeah, but okay, so now I know. I'm ready. Ron, you took notes, right? I saw
took some
you.
notes. Taking it to my next date.
Oh, look what we've done. Now we're going to go on dates. But okay, but I have to ask you in terms of like what are the things, because Lunch actually is a matchmaking agency.
Yes.
Is this still prevalent in Singapore? Because now we have dating apps, right?
Yes,
We have
yes.
Tinder, Bumble, so many
yes,
things.
yes.
Do people sometimes seek help from
Oh, yeah, definitely. So thankfully, that's why we are still around. So definitely, like we get this asked a lot. Like, there are so many dating apps out there. Like, why do matchmaking agencies like Lunch actually still exist? So of course, like there are a lot of success stories on like dating apps. Like in fact, like I have like introduced like certain dating apps to my friends as well. But I think like there are also people who are not comfortable using dating apps for different reasons. So like for example, some of them might be like MDs or like like then they might feel a bit awkward to like go on a dating app, like, and their subordinates maybe kind of see them on the app. So as a result of that, like they prefer to work with someone like who's more discreet, so they come to us. So that's one reason. There are also people who like they have been using dating apps for a while. Like, and I think with dating apps, it's very fun in the beginning. You know, it's like, oh, it's like, wow, you know, swipe, and then like, wow, someone likes me, and yeah, you know, we're going to like chat with each other. So I think like the first maybe 3 or 4 months is really exciting. But after that, like, you know, if you're still like doing the same thing, a lot of people have told me they kind of have like swiping fatigue. Yeah, so that's kind of like, they're like, oh my goodness, this is so difficult. And then, you know, I met like a guy who's like, I think in his early 20s, like a couple of like months ago. And then he was saying it's like the part of like even getting to the part of meeting up. That means haven't even met up yet, you know? It's like that whole process is so tiring. He's so tired by the time he got there. And it was before he even met up with the person. So I think as a result of that, some of them like decided, okay, forget it, you know, I'm just going to go to Violet, or I'm just going to go to a matchmaker. And then they are just going to do all the legwork for me, right? Because that's what we do. Basically, we are like screening, we are verifying, we are like curating, we are making sure the date happens. So all you need to do is just to show up and meet the person whom we have curated for you. So when we are matching, I mean, of course, like I said just now, right, I wish we have this machine where we can just put in like A, B, C, D, E, enter, probe, you know, like this perfect candidate comes out. We don't have. So what happens on a date is that, you know, the person whom you're meeting would be 60 to 70% of what you're looking for, and you would also be 60, 70% of what the person is looking for. So of course the rest is up to you guys, right? So like I always say, I cannot guarantee chemistry, right? It's really up for you guys to get to know each other. But at least what we have taken out a lot of, it's like certain deal breakers. Because for example, like again, I do have friends who are on dating apps, and then there are a lot of things that they don't tell people, like initially, right? They don't tell on the dating app, they don't tell on the first date, they don't tell on the second date, they don't tell on the third date. And I don't know, they only tell the person on the 6th or 7th date, and by then you have invested so much time in this person, and then only you realize that this is a deal breaker.
No, I thought they were going on to the element of mystery. You know, now there's a thing, right? They're trying to say mysterious, like, oh, you know, I'm not. But then you like come in and like, oh, I wish I can do it. But oh no, yeah, but that's a deal breaker.
Yeah,
Why
then,
would you
then
hide?
it's like, but this person, right, would have already spent so much time on you, right? So you are like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it, right? Yeah. So what we are doing is we kind of like have taken out all of this element because, for example, I understand that sometimes people don't tell people that they are divorced or they don't tell people that they have kids, like, and then they only tell it like at a subsequent time. And of course, there are people who are like, it's okay, you know, I'm so in love with you, it doesn't matter, you know, like whatever, whoever you are, I'll just take it as it is, right? But there are some people that, oh my goodness, this is really a deal breaker for me. And then it just kind of disintegrates from there. But what we do is like from the outset, we already know all of this information. So obviously we only match someone who is okay with a divorcee or someone who is okay with people with kids. So there's no surprises in that sense. Yeah.
Oh, I'm learning so much. I really didn't know, you know, because okay, I have a confession of my own. Yeah. Are you ready? I tried a dating app for 4 hours and I couldn't take it. That's right, right?
People try for 4 months, you try for 4 hours.
I know.
You win. Ding.
I had to thank my mom and my dad. No, but I was telling Ron this as well. It was so funny because I was like, okay, let me try and see what's the buzz, right?
Yeah.
I feel the same way about some of the clients.
Yes.
Like I find it awkward to talk on dating apps because it's a lot of work, you know. Like in the first questions are the worst. It's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm drowning. Are you gonna come and save me? No, right? You can't. It's just not like it's guys. Like you have no idea. Asking me how am I? I'm like, I'm so glad you're concerned. But what am I gonna say? You know. But these are the things. But you know, Violet, you make very good points, especially on like the having that sound, having that right state of mind, you know, knowing that it's not only about on the surface, but it's also what you want and your goals that will eventually align with like the compatibility aspect of it. Yeah. But this time, the next segment, I'm so excited for this because it's Ron's segment and he's going to be giving you interesting scenarios. So Ron, why don't you take it away and tell us what to expect?
So tapping on Nisha's experience about the 4 hours on dating apps.
4 hours is a lot for me, okay? Can I just say, guys, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Violet's like, yeah, this client, if she's a potential client, it's going to be hard. I can see it in her eyes already. I'm going to take a sip and suck in the corner.
Right. So I think I took the liberty to ask some of my friends, right?
Yes.
What are the current like pain points
Yes.
when it comes to dating
Yeah, yeah.
in our generation or generally young adults?
Yes,
So
yes.
these are some scenarios that maybe we want to consult you on.
Yes, throw it over.
Yes. So the first one is, right, like what she said, I'm not a good texter. Most people start with no effort questions like, hi, what's up, what you doing? You know, it's pretty boring, right?
Yes,
So
definitely.
how do you kind of spice it up to make sure the conversation keeps going?
Okay, so first and foremost, we need to set the stage. Like what I've mentioned just now, right? You are not only competing with yourself, you're competing with 10 or 20 other people. So imagine, like, someone is like, like, it's kind of like the teacher, right? Or I don't know, like, kind of like looking at your answers, right? So if you say, hi, how are you, what's up, or fail, 0%, right? So you want to come across as interesting, you want to like capture the person's attention. So basically, like at the end of the day, we all love like when people take notice of us, right? So look at the person's profile, don't be lazy. Like look at what the person have written down. Like the person say that, I've just went to Hokkaido, I really enjoyed it. Bring that up. Like wow, I saw that you just went to Hokkaido. I'm planning to go end of this year. Like so where do you think like I should go? What are some like must visit places?
Wow.
Yeah, immediately you stand out from the hi, hello, good morning, have you eaten, right?
Wait, I have a follow-up question, right? So what
Yes.
happens if the profile is just photos, but they don't say anything about themselves?
Yeah, that's also fine because
Right.
I'm sure like photos tell a story, right? Like so I'm sure usually like we always give this advice and I hope like people take up this advice, Of course have one which is like sort of like, like head photo, like and then of course have some like half bodies, have some when you're on holidays, have some doing your hobbies and things like that. Usually people would put, like kind of like a photo montage. So similarly, just go and look through the photos and see what resonate with you. Like if you see the person is like, I don't know, learning how to surf or something, right? And that's something you're interested in, or maybe you're a pro in that, you might want to bring that up. So just having all of this like conversation starters would make you immediately seem a lot more interesting and would also increase the probability of the person answering your question. Yeah, because it becomes like less how would I say, it becomes less awkward because if you're asking me a question and I'm just giving you information, I don't feel like, does this person think I'm interested in him, Like it just becomes more casual and that's usually how we want a relationship to start. Like really more casual, like getting to know each other as friends and then go from there.
I think you also brought up an interesting point just now. I think you compared different generations when it comes to dating, right?
Yes.
How you express interest is quite different.
Yes.
I feel like people in our generation, this is it's not a meme, but there's a belief system where like, oh, the more uninterested you are, or the more casual, chill you are,
yes.
the more you're allowing the person to express their interests, But in the previous generation, it's like, oh yeah, I need to like buy you flowers, knock on the door, like do all these extravagant things. But in our generation, it's more like, oh, it's
Less
more
is
cool to
more.
be chill and like, what? So how do you think as a young Singaporean? How should we go about expressing interest, but maybe in terms of like the frequency of texting or communicating wise?
Okay, so again, like I'm sure if you just search it on Google or something, like the advice is that however long the person message to you, you should answer in that length or lesser, right? So, but at the same time, I also believe that we shouldn't play too many games. Yeah, because I totally agree. It's like if you come across as too eager, you come across as too desperate, you come across as too needy, that's not going to work as well. So it's kind of like a bit like flying a kite, right? It's like when are you going to like just let it loose a bit? When are you going to pull it a bit tighter? Yeah, but also remember this, it's like you cannot be playing games forever. So, okay, again, like what is the objective of this? If you're just looking again like for a short relationship, a fling or one night stand, whatever, yes, go for it. But if you're going for like a long-term relationship, you cannot be constantly playing games. It's very, very tiring. Yeah, so I think just don't overdo it lah. Like of course, if the person like send you one sentence, you go and write an essay. Like, can you imagine? It's like the person write you one sentence and you write an essay. It's like the person will feel so much pressure. You know what I mean? And then they'll be thinking so hard, like, what should I say? Should I reply? Should I not? Yeah. So,
I'll be at loss.
Yeah, so exactly, it's like if the person sent one sentence, you just send one sentence back, right? Or like the person sent two sentences, okay, maybe you can go a little bit more, but just be interesting, yeah. Or like you say, it's like don't overdo it. Like if you like start sending flowers, on the first date and things like that, people be like, oh, a bit too much, I think now people don't want that kind of like pressure. Yeah, I think even like in your generation, right? Like I hear from the ladies, because previously like maybe all the ladies are like, oh, like if the guy doesn't pay on the first date, I'm not even going to consider, it's like, oh, wow, how dare he does this, like he doesn't respect me, blah, 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 right? But I understand for the younger generation, a lot of ladies, they are like, no, I can pay for myself. I don't want the guy to pay because like, I don't want to owe him anything. I'm like, oh, very interesting. So I agree. You need to kind of see like where the person is coming from and like, what is the vibe, vibe check. Yeah.
Wait, we need to hire her as an ambassador. I love it. She's vibing more than us.
Great recall, just one loop.
But I also say I'm the kind who like pay Dutch, like go Dutch. I don't mind going Dutch.
Yeah, see?
I mean, equality, Then you put a ring on it, you don't have to pay everything.
Ooh. Wow, sounds like a trap, but
Sounds like a trend.
See, this is a problem why I'm now looking like a red flag right now. And people are just going to be like on the comments, like, this girl talk a lot, really annoying. Okay, no, sorry, go ahead.
maybe now they call it beige flag. Now there's like green flag, red flag, and beige flag.
Wow.
Yeah.
Tell
The different types of
I
flags.
need to go and read up on beige
Yes.
flags then.
So yeah, apparently beige flags are like things that are not too
So clear.
too clear, like too like outrageous or too like need to deal breakers. But basically like not deal breakers. It's like in between, like like kind of like sus, but like still can, but like apparently that's what beige flags
Beige
are.
flags. Okay.
Yeah.
I learned something new. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know, and I'm young. Well, we need to talk about this after the podcast.
Right. So there's another scenario
Yes.
where basically people say after they've chatted with somebody, right? The term ghosting is quite common nowadays.
Yes, definitely.
So how would you advise someone who, let's say, has been chatting with someone for a few weeks or for a certain amount of time, and then they've just been ghosted, right? What should they do?
I think, unfortunately, this is very common. Yeah, because I've spoken to singers, I asked them, like, have you been ghosted? Like, I think more than half or maybe majority of people say yes. Then I asked them, have you ghosted people? They also say yes. So, because someone must be doing the ghosting, right? So I mean, of course, I think the right thing to do is just to let people know that, hey, like it's been really fun talking to you, but I don't think this is really working out. And, maybe, happy to, catch up as friends in future, but yeah, all the best, something like that. I think that's the right thing to do, like that's the etiquette that I would advise all singers to do. But of course, again, like, people are not talking to one person. They are talking to 10, 20, 30, I don't know, right? So it gets very tiring if they keep needing to repeat this over and over again. And maybe as a result, that's why they just ghost people. Okay. So from the perspective of the person being ghosted, I know it's very personal, but just don't take it personally. Because, similar like what I've said just now, like you are not the only one. You are like together with the other 9 people who have been ghosted. So it's totally not personal, it's not you. Yeah. So just kind of like, okay, like it's better that it didn't work out. This person is not for me anyways. Like why would I want to like date someone who is like so disrespectful or whatever, right? Like just just take some time to like be upset. I think that's important. Wallow in self-pity a bit, but maybe not too long. and then just move on. Like don't take it as like, oh, because I've been ghosted by this person, that means like I'm so worthless, that means people don't love me, that means like I can never find love again. Like don't tell yourself these stories. It's just something that's very common. Like just deal with it and then move on and just, there's someone better out there for you. Yeah, but having said that, if I'm able to change the mind of people who are like always ghosting people, like I always say this, if you think about it, right, the world is so small, especially in Singapore. The person you're ghosting today might end up to be your boss tomorrow.
Oh, snap. I just had the... Oh,
Right? Oh, the person could be like the cousin of your future, I don't know, like best friend. You never know these things, right? Like, so that's why I'm like, yes, it's a bit of a hassle, but maybe you just like copy and paste lah, have like different templates in your notes. Yeah, just copy and paste and just be nice about it. Like, just save yourself a lot of trouble in future, I feel. Yeah.
I think the other thing, so I've used dating apps before. I think something that's difficult for some of my friends also
Yes.
is like you talk for many like weeks, right?
Yes.
And I think maybe it's in Singaporean culture, but it's normally it doesn't lead to like a in-person meetup. So strategically, how do you think someone can initiate an in-person meetup after chatting for a while?
Yes, that's a very good question, and that's a lot of people. They just feel that they're wasting their life, right? They're like, "Oh my goodness, I've spoken to this person for like days, weeks, months, and then at the end we don't even meet up, and then I get ghosted."
Wow.
I'm laughing because
She summarized the whole dating experience of
I know.
2023. It's just
Oh my god! I feel like I really need some box of tissues right now because I'm like.
tissue.
No, it's okay. It's okay, everyone. Let me just suck at the corner. I'm going through assessment now, self-reflection at my side. Please carry on.
Yeah, so I think like it's important, right, to know why you're on a dating app. Because honestly, different people are on dating apps for different reasons. You would think that everybody's on a dating app the same reason as you. It's not true. So there are people who are on dating apps like for fun, like they actually have nothing better to do and they just feel that this is like an entertainment. So rather than playing games, they go on dating apps. And then there are people who are actually like looking for, like they're insurance agents. So they're looking for leads.
okay.
Yeah. Then there are also like maybe people already in relationship who are married. Yeah. So I think you need to be very clear. Why are you on a dating app? So if your objective of being on a dating app is to meet someone and to find someone, then you just need to be very unabashed and unapologetic of like your objective. Yeah.
Like that.
And I think it's like if the person is the right person, they will respect that and they would agree to it as well. Yeah. So I mean, just to give you an example, like I have this friends like who actually met on dating app. So it's like I met them after they have already met and they are a couple, right? And then it was really funny because it's like then one person say it's like, oh, I'm the type, right? I like to talk for months before I meet. I'll just keep chatting and chatting. I like to get more information from the other person and find out more about the person. Then the other party, like so the one that she ended up with, right? Then the person is like, oh, I don't waste time. I just kind of like, talk to the person for a while, like probably more or less within a week, right? I'll just ask the person out and then I'll see what the person says. And so this person did that, and just say that, okay, after talking to you for a while, I really like you. I think, like we have the same vibe. And I would really like to, meet up for a vibe check, Yeah, and even though the other person is very used to always, like doing 6 months, right? But she respected that. She's like, wow, this person knows what the person is looking for. Yeah, so I think, it's like, let's say you bring that up and the person is like, no, I don't want to, I don't meet up, blah, blah, blah. Then just move on. This person is just not right for you. Yeah.
And I think you brought up a really good point, which is that, kind of like suss out whether this person is in something casual, something long term, right? But just talking to friends also,
Yes.
like there's an interesting thing. So like for some of them,
Yeah.
they enter relationships like they weren't looking for it, but it just kind of happened, right?
Yes.
So let's say if you're on a dating app, but then like you're kind of swiping away people who are like, only into like casual fun, or only into, then doesn't it mean there's like opportunity cost or like, like people kind of like, I guess you are lowering your chances of meeting other people as well? Like, yeah, what do you think about that?
Okay, I think the most important thing, like when it comes to using a dating app, is really meeting offline. So it doesn't matter, like whether the person say they are casual, they are serious and whatever. And I totally agree with you. It's like, because you initially thought like you're not ready for a serious relationship, but when you meet the right person, you might be ready, right? Yep. So even like when you are swiping and then you are chatting and then you are like, okay, actually I quite enjoy talking to this person, just go for a coffee date. Like you don't need to like go on a full-fledged dinner, right? Like, you could just be like, and I think there's this whole concept of like date zero now. So it's not even like the first date. It's really kind of like date zero. Like we are just like kind of catching up, like maybe right after work or like in between before I go for gym or whatever, right? Like let's just meet at the Starbucks and just have a drink and just kind of see like whether, we are happy to move to a first date. Yeah, so I think by doing that, then you can kind of like decide where you want to move on from there.
And continuing on the topics of like in-person dates, right? So I guess everything is like digital nowadays, and I guess I have friends who are like socially awkward, or maybe they're introverted, right?
Yes.
So, what sort of advice can you give them to prepare themselves for an in-person date after texting somebody on an app?
Okay. So I always say, like, when we go for a job interview, right? Like, we always prepare, right? So why would we not prepare when we are going on a date? Like, we cannot expect, like, we just go on a date and then, like, we are like, wow, like, everything just works out. So again, like, the person's profile is a great place to just find, like, nuggets on what to prepare. So from the person's profile, you can see, like, what they're interested in, like what they like, what they not like. And okay, that's one part, like preparing on like what the person like likes and dislikes, right? But it's also about yourself as well. So actually dates, like first date give you a lot of opportunity in a way to like sell yourself as a good candidate. But I think a lot of people do not like take advantage of that, and they just go on dates and then they just kind of like jump around. Like a lot of times people go on dates, they will talk about the weather, talk about like movies, talk about their favorite food, talk about their favorite holiday destinations, and then you just keep jumping around, right? Because the idea is that they're trying to find like commonalities and hoping to like sort of go deep. Yeah. So, okay, for example, like when people ask like, okay, so what do you like to do in your free time? That's a very common question in like any first date, right? And then people will say things like, oh, like, for example, let's say a girl, right? Oh, my free time, like I enjoy online shopping. Like I go for yoga. Like I enjoy watching Korean dramas. Don't know why she's smiling, but I totally didn't ask her. But maybe somehow I'm reading her mind again. But again, right? It's like that is such a missed opportunity. Yeah. So I think like when you go on dates, like whether you're socially awkward or not, like so just prepare like answers that's going to showcase your best self. So for example, if you're looking again, to be in a serious relationship, and then you think like, okay, like when people are looking for a serious relationship, there are certain like maybe criteria or certain like personality they are looking for. Of course, make sure it's real, like, don't create like a fake persona or something. So like, let's say you know that, okay, you're someone who's very family oriented, and then you know that, okay, this person is also looking for someone who's family oriented. So take this opportunity to share like you are family oriented. So for example, what do you do in your free time? Instead of saying, I do yoga, I do online shopping and watch Korean drama, which totally doesn't help. Yeah, you can then share things like, again, please don't make it up, only say if it's true, right? So in my free time, I actually do not live with my parents right now. So I always like make it a point to like go back to visit them at least once a week, or I'll take them out for dim sum because that's their favorite, or like, my elder brother is married, and I really enjoy playing with my nieces and nephews. And to just help like my brother and like my sister-in-law to just have some time on their own for their date time, usually I'll take them out to like some indoor playground, and I really enjoy spending time with them. Wow.
That's like great ways to kind of like exchange, like, oh, there's so many points you mentioned that were, talking points.
Yes. And you are answering the question, and you also are showcasing like, important things that people are looking for.
Okay. So I'm down to my last scenario.
Yes.
It's quite common nowadays. As you mentioned, dating apps are everywhere.
Yes.
There's so many choices, right?
Yes.
So I guess the concept of open relationships or polyamory or monogamy, right? Like all these definitions have changed in time, right? So as someone who's new in dating, wants to go out to date, right? So if they're looking for something committed, right? But then there are people out there who are like, oh, I'm into polyamory, I'm open, but then they themselves are not comfortable with all these different concepts, right? So they believe in traditional monogamy. How can people communicate their needs or wants in dating, or even on apps, or even on physical dates?
Okay. So same thing. Like I just think ultimately we need to be true to ourselves, and we just need to love ourselves more. Okay. Because I think a lot of times like we end up in a situation where we are like we make concessions. We are like, I really like this person, and like I really want to be with this person. And like maybe, if I stay around long enough, he or she is going to change. The problem is he or she will never change. Yeah, so and then it's like at that point, like maybe like fast forward 3 months, 3 years, 30 years later, that person will be like, I told you so. It wasn't like I didn't lie to you. I told you from day one, this is who I am, and you told me that you were willing to accept it. Right? So I think if we are going to make concessions, like then we need to accept that this person will never change. And if we are fine with that, then go ahead with it. But if you're not fine with it, then don't say you're okay with it. Yeah. So, from day one, just say that, wow, I didn't realize that, that is not something that I'm looking for. Yeah. So what I'm looking for is this. Is this something that you are open to discuss? Do you think like we can work towards that? And at least just getting the person saying yes, right, it's a step forward. But if the person say no, like that's really not what I'm looking for, then it's better to just part ways.
Really, really great advice. Thanks, Violet, for that. Yeah. I mean, these are all like real issues that are happening in like the dating world for
I've
young
been
people.
taking notes, Violet. I'm coming out as a new person. Like, really, Ron and we were eyeing each other just now. We were already like, okay.
Ready for
got
like
this.
this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really.
Good job, guys.
But that's why we have you here, because you're shedding light on this. We don't really know, and I think our viewers don't know about this. There are many things, it's so interesting, and I think it definitely helps to who's trying to navigate the dating scene, right, Ron? Yeah.
There's so many, there's so many considerations to think about when it comes to dating. It's not
Yeah.
just like, okay, on a date, I find some people I have friends who are like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be single for the rest of my life. And I'm like, what?
There's friends, there's ourselves,
Yes,
there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I just think it's like, again, even though I'm a matchmaker, I don't think there's anything wrong, like, people who's choosing to be single. Yeah, I think that's completely cool. But my biggest worry is that, people are just saying that because they are just so afraid of getting hurt, or they are just so afraid of getting rejected. And I think that is just, I really feel for that. So I think ultimately it's like, just be true to yourself, like just own up to it. It's like, if you are looking to find someone, it's okay. Just put it out there. I really believe in the law of attraction. Put it out there, you're looking for someone, it's like, get to know yourself better, just be in a good space with yourself, because I think ultimately when we are the best version of ourselves, then we are in the best place to attract people to us. But don't be negative, like don't say things like, oh, it's like, I don't need someone, like all good men out there are like married, gay, or like dead, don't say things like that, because when you put out these vibes, like that's what you're going to attract at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's like every rom-com protagonist, right? Oh, my life is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, till they, But anyway, sorry, what you
I have a question that popped up, right?
Yes.
So, okay. So, as you know, in our society, like, I guess marriage is one of the considerations, or settling down. The other settling down is like a societal pressure.
Yes.
For you, right, have you encountered clients who maybe are just dating because of the pressures they have from family, but then they're not actually interested in getting to know like a person, or meet a person and have a lifelong partner? Like, how would you approach that?
So a very interesting question, and we definitely have that. And usually the inquiry is done by someone else. Yeah, so like the dad, the brother, the sister, the mom. And then like when they make the inquiry, we'll be like, okay, it's like, you're like, oh, can you help my son, my daughter, my sister, things like that. And we're like, okay, you can be the one making the payment, no problem. But the person that we need to be working with needs to be like the singer, him or herself. So you cannot be in a consultation room like giving like your thoughts on like who is the right match and things like that. And like when we are sharing the match, we also won't be talking to you. We'll only be talking to the singer. Yeah, because like you say, right, ultimately we want to work with people who are really ready. Like just going back to like one of the first questions that I talk about, right? It's like, are you ready to be in a relationship? Because if the answer is no, then it's just not going to get anywhere, like no matter how many people I put in front of you.
Good advice.
Yeah, definitely. So especially who those who are meddling in your lives, those aunties and relatives. I love you guys during Chinese New Year, Hari Raya, but you need to stop with the questions. Please, you thought of it as well, right? Wait in your
I
head.
did. I was like, oh my
Right.
god.
Aunties and uncles, yeah. Definitely, rightly said, Violet. And it's just really sad that because of the pressures, some people just fall into that. Yeah.
Yes.
Great question, Ron. Yeah.
I just thought about it
Absolutely.
after you
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
But I've learned a lot today, as you can tell. I can really immerse your knowledge. I'm pretty sure Ron did too.
Yeah,
We
so
now
much
know how to
information to
navigate.
process. Like, it's like a sex machine. That meme of like the all the words and then the, okay, I'm babbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, thank you so much, Violet, for joining
No
us
problem.
today.
Thanks for having me. It's
Yeah.
really fun talking to you guys.
The vibes were great. Good vibes. Vibing with Violet. But we would love to have you again, of course, at any time on our show.
yes, definitely
but-
would love to be back.
Yeah, but time is running out, actually. We don't want to take more of your time as well. We've been having too much fun, Ron. Yeah.
Way too much
Yeah,
fun.
but of course, we can't wait to, do more stories about dating, shed more light. So we'll be in touch with you definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah, but okay. Anyway, want to take it away? You want to go and
Yeah.
ask our audience some certain topics that we might want to do on our next episode.
Yeah.
So, drop
if you have any
comments.
questions about dating, about any topics you're interested to explore, you can drop it in our comment section right below. If you like all the videos you've seen, right, check out all our different videos. We have lots of different videos, news, lifestyle. And yeah, stay tuned to the next episode of Vibe Check.
Stay in love.